Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Bleach Chapter 610. Alright, and this chapter actually starts off with Hashfall talking about Yuha and how he had to keep his eyes closed because during the whole 9 years where Yuha was regaining his power, because we know when it comes to Quincy's, there's that whole story about how the King of the Quincy's spent 900 years regaining his pulse, 90 years regaining his intelligence, and another 9 years regaining his power. Well, that 9 years was actually still ongoing, and he had to keep his eyes closed during that time because had he actually opened his eyes, he would have lost control of his power, and the Stern Ritter probably would have lost their abilities as well. Okay, but now, conveniently, at this exact point in time, the 9 years has ended, so he can open his eyes again. Which opening his eyes is most likely probably a metaphor for him using his ability, the Almighty. Okay, and last week I was looking for more of an explanation for the Almighty, and in this chapter it never really got the explanation I was looking for. Alright, he was talking about how he, because of his ability allows him to know everything, and because of that, the abilities of Ichibei just didn't work on him anymore. And I was thinking, knowledge alone is not going to prevent something from working against you. There has to be something else. There has to be something you gain from that knowledge that you act upon in order to make that ability not work on you anymore. All right, and he kind of just says this. He says, and I quote, "The abilities I know will become my allies. How can I be defeated with that kind of power?" I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what are you talking about, dude? The abilities I know will become my ally. That doesn't even make, what are you talking about? Like he started like speaking riddles to hide the fact that this doesn't make sense. And as a matter of fact, more power ended up getting added on to this ability. He added in that because of this ability, he could see the future now. Though, to be fair, there's no telling if he was actually being truthful when he said that. It's possible that he was just trying to say that, well, since your abilities don't work on me anymore, there's only one possible outcome to this, so I already know the conclusion, therefore I technically know the future. There's only one way this can end now. It's possible he was just saying that and not saying he can legitimately see the future, but at this point, like, who cares? Like, Kubo clearly doesn't. Okay, so he's just making stuff up now. All right, which I'll get to that in a couple seconds too. But Ichibei actually ended up pointing out to Yuha how, just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean the power is negated. It just doesn't make sense. So he just goes and attacks using Futen Daisatsu Ryo. Okay, there we go. Futen Daisatsu Ryo. Alright, which the name of the chapter was Mausoleum of Skulls, but the attack itself is Slaughterous Mausoleum of Non-Reincarnation. Okay. Ooh. Alright. And this is where that whole thing about Kubo making stuff up comes up again, because Ichibei said that in order to do that technique, he had to steal 100 nights from the Soul Society of 100 years in the future. Okay, and I read that and I was just shaking my head like this literally makes no sense. Like, I know it's Bleach, and Bleach does things that don't make sense, and you're supposed to turn your brain off and just say whatever. Let me just focus on the end result and not think. But that's stupid. And I can't, like if something doesn't make sense, I'm gonna have to call it out. And this is just silly. Okay, stealing 100 nights from the Soul Society of 100 years in the future. No, I'm to no. That doesn't make sense. This explanation for Yuha's power doesn't make sense. Well, actually, Yuha kind of responded to that whole thing about his power not making sense. And he ended up saying that nothing works against him just because, like, essentially. All right, he tried to make this power out to be something complicated, when like about how I have this knowledge and the counter. No, it's nothing like that. In reality, his power is it negates things. That's essentially what it is. He can negate abilities. That's his power. All right. This is like what Hiro Mashima did in Fairy Tail when Ursa put on that armor at the end of the Grand Magic Games. All right, and she defeated Minerva. All right, he tried to make it out to be some fancy thing where it was, it was this armor that could change the laws of magic, and in reality, all she did was negate Minerva's abilities. Right, like sometimes manga artists, sometimes they do this thing where they just try to make something out to be more complicated than it really is. I guess to make it seem like more of a feat and to make the character look better because of it. But in reality, all they're doing is negating things. It's incredibly simple. All right, and that kind of thing just doesn't it just doesn't work on me. So yeah, that's that. Um, Chapter ends with Yuha attacking. Well, Ichibei already having been attacked. He's kind of flying back. So yeah, that's how the chapter ends. And overall, uh, I mean, there really wasn't much to the chapter. Not much happened. Okay, I mean, you have Hashfall talking for a little bit. Uh, that it wasn't really necessary. Excuse me. That wasn't really necessary. All I did was explain why Yuha never used the Almighty earlier in this arc, or in this saga, I should say. So that way I include the first invasion. Um, Not really necessary because no one was really questioning why Yuha didn't do that. Um, but I mean, it's cool, I guess. Nice to know. We had that. We had Yuha spouting nonsense. We had Ichibei spouting nonsense. He was doing all these chants and stuff that don't matter at all. I mean, there's only two real things that matter in this chapter. The stuff that Hashfald was saying, though not really, but kind of. It doesn't really matter, but I'll be nice and say it does, because it does add to the story. It's just that it was something that was unnecessary, that didn't need to be added. Um, but there was that, and then there's Yuhas essentially saying his power can negate things, and that's it. Uh, that's what the power is. I mean, overall, I'll just give the chapter 6.5 out of 10. It was okay. I mean, but there's just not much there, really, at all. Um, so, yeah, it was an okay chapter, and that's that, you guys. Chapter gets a 6.5 out of 10. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.